Hello, Hudson Sonnet. Let me go ahead and set my timer so we can find out about Amelia Bedelia. Okay. Um. hmm, Okay. Timer. It is April the 27th, and we're getting ready to find out what happened to Amelia Bedelia and the bike. I stopped on page 14. Okay, I'll read that again. And Amelia Bedelia sat up straight without having to be told and exclaimed, "You wouldn't believe the bike I saw today." She spent the next 10 minutes giving her parents an inch by inch description of the most beautiful bike in the world, down to the last spoke. "Goodness," said Amelia Bedelia's mother, "a bike that special must cost an arm and a leg." Amelia Bedelia shook her head. "I would never pay that much," she said. "You need both your arms to steer the bike." Excuse me. "You need both arms to steer a bike like that, and both legs to pedal it." "That's a good point," said her father. "You certainly need to be big and strong to ride a bike like that." "Yes," said her mother. "So take a bite of broccoli before it gets cold." Amelia Bedelia took an extra large bite. "How far away is Christmas?" she asked. "A long way away," said her mother. Amelia Bedelia took a much smaller bite of broccoli. "How far away is my birthday?" The word in here is smaller. Smaller. The base word or the root word is small. Small. And the suffix is er. "Even farther," said her father. "Did I get all my allowance this week?" "Every penny," said her father. "But remember, you have to pay me if you talk with your mouth full." Bedelia closed her mouth. She chewed and chewed. Then she swallowed and said, "Can I get an early Christmas present? And or an early birthday present?" "A new bike is the only thing you'd have to give me. Ever. For for years and years." "Well," said her mother, "I think it would be better if a bike wasn't given to you." Amelia Bedelia looked down at her plate. Her stomach hurt. Now she wished she had not eaten any broccoli at all. Since she was looking at her plate, she once again missed the eye talk between her parents. This time her mom's eye grew wider, while both her dad's eyebrows arched high enough to graze the ceiling. "I agree," said her dad. "You should work for a new bike and earn the money for at least half of it." This reminds me of our essential question. It says, "What do people do to get what they need?" Amelia Padilla smiled and looked at her parents. "Which half costs more?" she said. "The front half or the back half?" "They don't sell bikes like that, honey," said her mother. Then her father said, "I'll tell you what." "What?" asked Amelia Padilla. "What about what?" "What do you have to tell me about what?" "Can we please keep talking about my bike instead of what?" Amid Bedea's father patiently refilled his water glass. "We can't afford to buy a fancy bike like that," he says, "but I can meet you halfway." Amelia Bedea slid off her chair. She walked exactly halfway around the table and stood there. Her mom and dad stared at each other, then back at her. "Okay," said Amelia Bedea. "Here I am. Are you going to meet me halfway or not?" Amelia Bedea's dad stood up and walked halfway around the table to meet her. He said, "We will pay for half the cost of a new bike, but you will have to pay for the other half. Excuse me. He held out his right hand. Amelia looked at it. I can't I can't pay you my half tonight, she said. Of course not, said her father. Tonight we'll make an agreement. In business, when you agree to do something, you shake the other person's hand. Something. Compound word, something. Amelia grabbed, Grabbed. Amelia grabbed his wrist, shook his hand as hard as she could, up and down, up and owie, said her father. Not like that, sweetie, said her mother. This is how you shake hands. Her mother showed her how to shake hands with her father. Make it a firm handshake, she said. Your hand shouldn't feel like a dead fish or a wet noodle. Then her parents gave each other a hug. You should probably leave out the hug part, sweetie, said her mother. Why? Asked Amelia. I love Dad. She shook her father's hand and then her mother's hand. Then Amelia hugged both of them together. Family hug, she hollered. When they were all hugged out, Amelia's father said, Now, Amelia, let's have dessert and talk about how you're going to earn your half of that bike. Chapter 4. You're hired. Since the next day was Saturday, Amelia and her parents did what they always did on Saturdays. After Amelia's swimming lesson, they had lunch at Pete's diner. Pete's was mobbed. They had to sit at the counter instead of their favorite booth. Amelia loved sitting at the counter. She loved being close to the action, hearing the orders called out, watching them get filled, and seeing everyone working together to make the diner run smoothly. While they waited for their food, Amelia asked her parents what kind of jobs they had when they were growing up. I did all sorts of odd jobs, said her dad. My job doesn't have to be odd, said Amelia. I don't have to be a lion tamer or something unusual. Unusual. It can be a normal, regular job, so long as it pays a lot. When I was young, said her mother, the diner, said her mother, I worked as a waitress. I made buckets of money. My customers always gave me big tips. That sounds kind of fun, said Amelia. Did they even tip you so much that you fell over? Before her mother could answer, the food arrived. Their usual waitress was so busy that the owner of the diner, Pete, served them. Sorry, folks, he said as he put down their plates. I am very short-handed today. Amelia looked closely at his hands. They looked like they were the regular length, not too short, not too long. Then she looked at the French fries in front of her. Yum, she said, and she gave the ketchup bottle an extra hard squeeze. The ketchup squirted right over the top of her fries and onto Pete's clean white apron. Hey, shouted Pete. Look out! Ketchup on the loose! Amelia thought she was in trouble until Pete chuckled and asked, Do I look like a French fry to you? No, said Amelia, but you do look like you need some help. Do you have a job for me? Pete looked at Amelia's parents. It's the ketchup. They both smiled and shrugged. We come in every Saturday, said her father. She knows your routine. Her mother added, She's a good worker. Amelia will do exactly what you tell her to do. And she's on vacation now, so she has spare time. Pete leaned forward and to take a good look at Amelia Bedelia. I wonder, he said, can you cut the mustard? I've never tried that, said Amelia Bedelia, but I sure can squirt ketchup. Pete laughed. You sure can. Okay, I'll give it a try. You're hired. You can be an official Pete's Diner waitress in training. Amelia Bedelia reached out and gave Pete a firm handshake. Honestly, she felt like hugging him too. Instead, she hugged her parents. Congratulations, sweetie, said her mom. That's my girl, said Dad. You landed your very first job. You're hired. Those were the magic words to Mia Bedelia. Those words meant that her dream bike would soon be a reality. She gobbled down her fries and said goodbye to her parents, then slid off her stool and skipped into the kitchen. Doris, their regular waitress, found her a uniform. This is the smallest size we've got, honey, Doris said. Well, well, that's it for tonight. Hope you enjoyed the book. Oh, remind me that I stopped on page 28. Okay, stopped on page 28. Talk to you later. Bye.